Hello guys and welcome to another video. My name's Mark, I'm an entrepreneur, property investor, and in today's video we're talking about how being cheap can really help you get on the road to becoming rich. And I know there's this school of thought of fake it until you make it, but my school of thought is more like live below your means, make sure you invest the difference, and that way you can guarantee an outcome. And I think for most people that is going to be the route that's going to give most success. Let's get into a little bit about my background, my lifestyle, and how I've lived below my means for such a long period of time. Now I'm going to take this all the way back to 2010 when I was, I guess 28, 29, something like that, and I bought my first property. So we had to make a decision at that time. We could have bought a flat in Canary Wharf where we would have been able to live together. It would have been a studio apartment, or we could have bought a 3-bedroom house a little bit further out in a town called Erith, which was in Zone 5, so a good 30 to 40 minute commute into work. But what we worked out very quickly was if we rented out the 2 spare rooms in our Erith house, we would be able to live there completely free of charge. It wouldn't cost us for the mortgage, which was £600 a month, wouldn't cost us bills, council tax, all of that would be paid for by the tenants. Ultimately, we had already been living below our means in order to save up a deposit, but now we were going to take away our rent and not replace it with a mortgage. So that was the first example, and we weren't doing it consciously at the time. We were just looking at it on paper as 2 options, right? Number 1, we have a 3-bedroom house where we don't pay anything, but we do have to live with 2 other people. We were already in shared accommodation. Number 2 was we had a studio apartment where we could live there by ourselves and not have as long a commute. But we would have to pay £600-700 a month in mortgage and a further £400-600 a month in bills. And we worked out that for us, it was going to be better in our late 20s, no kids at the time, to be able to do that. And we would rent out the 2 spare rooms. So I think that's a great example of living below our means and taking a little bit of pain in the short term in order to have a much better life longer term. Now, a lot of that feeds through to most of the things I do today. Even if you consider, like, if I go to a shop and a can of Coke is £3, I can obviously afford £3 worth of Coke. It would make no difference to me whatsoever. However, I refuse to pay £3 for a can of Coke. Maybe there's something psychologically wrong with me. I don't know, because it would make no difference to my life. However, I find far more enjoyment in knowing that I get good value for money. Equally, yesterday we rented a yacht. And we went out on a yacht for £450 for, I think it was 4 hours. I thought that was incredibly good value for money. We had a boat, we had the fuel, we had the captain, we had 2 people looking after us, we had unlimited soft drinks, there were 6 of us on the yacht. It was an incredible day. We managed to do loads of really cool stuff, jumping in off the top. It was a great experience. So there are times when I think spending on experiences is really key, but this is what it all boils down to, okay? When I did that, I already knew that I was paying for the yacht through the passive income. My properties generate approximately £15,000-20,000 a month, somewhere around that sort of number. I have bills on those properties of £8,000 or so, and I'm left with about £7,000 or £8,000 a month of passive income, completely passive. Not including the appreciation on the properties. Let's say, for example, 3.5 million goes up by 1%, that's a £35,000 profit in 1 month. Equally, if they go down by 1%, I'm going to lose £35,000. But we don't crystallise those profits or losses, in my instance, ever, because my strategy is very much to not pay the tax, but to refinance and move the money through that way. Please, if you haven't already, give this video a big like. It really does help me out with the algorithm. And why not consider subscribing? We have our subscriber dividend portfolio, over £13,000 in that now. Every single month, just comment on that video. You will be in with a chance of winning the dividends from that portfolio. So my aim is always to buy a property, keep it for a period of time till it appreciates to the value where it will pay me back whatever I put into it, refinance that money out, and then that property has an infinite return on investment. And any returns I get from it, I see as play money. And that's kind of been our rule within our family, you know. Anything that we have that's passive income, we can enjoy, we can spend it frivolously. It doesn't matter. That is the money that other people went out to work for us. So if it was within an index fund, these companies are being run by people, and the workers within those companies generate money. That money gets paid out to us in dividends, and those dividends are from other people's labour. So we're quite comfortable just spending that however we want. Same with the properties. We have our tenants who go out to work, they then give us a proportion of their income in order to live in the property. Some of it goes on bills, some of it goes on maintenance, and some of it is profit. And the profit, again, at that point, I think is for lifestyle. And I very much viewed it this way. And to be honest, I fell too far on the other side of it for a long, long period of time, whereby we were just reinvesting, right? So it got to a point where my wife had a car that was worth a third of the value of the house. And I remember that she came home one day and said that some of the neighbours thought it was a bit ostentatious, a bit ridiculous, and she wanted to sell it. And I remember saying to her, it's not the car that's the wrong car, we can afford the car. We're just on the wrong street with the wrong people. So we decided to move the very next day. Now the story actually goes that we moved in October 2019 into a big mansion, 7,000 square foot, over near Henley, incredibly expensive rent. I think it was $7,500 a month with all the bills and everything. And within 6 months, COVID came along and completely destroyed my business for a period of 2 years. So maybe we should have held on a little bit longer, but hindsight's a beautiful thing. We got to experience it. Our passive income still covered it. It wasn't a major deal. However, if I could go back in time and change it, maybe I'd have got a little bit further on in my journey before I did. But guys, my main key point and the main thing I want to take away from this video for anybody is that if you can live below your means, if you can invest that difference, and I think you need to set yourself a really decent target, a decent chunk. If you're in your 20s, you want to be investing, I think, about a third of your income. So if you're earning £2,000, I think you need to be investing about £750 a month. Somewhere around there, 700, 750 a month. That's close to 10 grand a year. It's going to really mean that you can buy a property in a year or two, or you could start getting your ISAs and your LISAs stocked up. You could really start to generate some wealth like that. £50 a month, okay, it gets you on the journey. It gets you playing the game. But it's going to take you a lifetime of investing to do that. Anyone who's young enough to be hearing this message just needs to get onto investing nice and early. Now, there is a school of thought that if you can invest within your own business, i.e. you're generating your own business, the internal rate of return of there may be stronger than you can get elsewhere. And I absolutely agree with that. I invest a lot of money within my own companies, but that is not very diversified. So I do also do property. I do also do index funds because that gives me a safety blanket of diversification. So guys, that's a little bit of my take. I think live below your means for as long as you possibly can. I certainly did it to the point where the car was worth a third of the value of the house, and it was a little bit silly. But I think by doing that, we were able to buy property 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 in a very short space of time because we were earning a significant amount of money and spending very little. But it took a long time to get there. It took us, property investing is get rich slow, but get rich for sure, right? Like there is no other outcome. There's never has been. If you started investing in property 50 years ago, you're rich today. 40 years ago, you're rich today. 30 years ago, you're rich today. Any of these examples, if you give it long enough, you're rich today. Assuming you bought, recycled the money, bought again, recycled the money, bought again, recycled the money, bought again. Assuming you did that at any period of time over the last 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, depending on how old you are, you got rich. So I think it's get rich for sure, but get rich slow. Now there are things you can do to speed it up, and I'm going to do another video on that, so stay tuned. Subscribe as always, and I will see you soon, guys. Cheers.